The cream-coloured envelope trembled in my hands as I traced the gold-embossed Howard family crest. After 2 years of dating Liam, I was finally being summoned to the family estate. Not for a casual visit, but for the formal announcement of our engagement. I'm Regina, and until 3 years ago, I was just another farm girl from Missouri with a sewing machine and big dreams. Now I run my own boutique in Manhattan, though you wouldn't know it from the way Vivian Howard's lips curl whenever someone mentions my little shop. Don't let her get to you, Liam said, wrapping his arms around my waist as I stood at our apartment window. Mother's just traditional. Traditional, I laughed, but it came out hollow. Is that what we're calling it now? Regina? I heard her last week, Liam, at the country club. I turned to face him. That girl wouldn't know Valentino from Value Village. Those were her exact words. Liam's face fell. He ran a hand through his dark hair, a nervous habit I'd grown to love. She'll come around once she sees... Once she sees what? That I can memorize which fork to use for the fish course? That I can pretend I spent summers in the Hamptons instead of helping my dad with the harvest? Once she sees how amazing you are, he said firmly, taking my hands in his, just like I did. The invitation specified cocktail attire for dinner, so I chose my newest design, a midnight blue sheath dress with subtle hand-beaded details. As we pulled up to the Howard estate in Liam's Range Rover, I smoothed the fabric nervously. You look perfect, Liam assured me, but I barely heard him. I was too busy staring at the mansion looming before us, all Georgian columns and manicured hedges. A butler, an actual butler, opened the heavy wooden door. Master Liam, he nodded. Miss Regina. Inside, voices drifted from what I assumed was the drawing room. I recognized Vivian's immediately, sharp and clear like crystal. Absolutely mortifying. Did you see what she wore to the Phillips garden party? Off the rack, I'm certain. I froze, my hand still on the doorframe. Liam hadn't heard. He was already walking ahead. Now, Vivian, came another voice, older, male. The girl has potential, rough around the edges perhaps, but... Alice, please, she's a farmer's daughter. What potential could she possibly... I pushed the door open, plastering on my brightest smile. Good evening, everyone. The room fell silent. Vivian's perfectly coiffed head whipped around, her champagne glass pausing halfway to her red-painted lips. Beside her, an elderly gentleman, Ellis, I presumed, had the grace to look embarrassed. Regina, darling, Vivian recovered quickly, air-kissing my cheeks. That dress is... interesting. Did you find it at one of those charming little boutiques downtown? Actually, I said, meeting her gaze steadily, I designed and made it myself. Did you really? A new voice chimed in. A woman about my age stepped forward, her eyes bright with interest. It's gorgeous! I'm Nora, Liam's sister. Before Vivian could interject, the butler announced dinner was served. As we moved to the dining room, I caught Vivian whispering to Ellis. Don't worry, she murmured. I have plans for the wedding. That girl won't embarrass this family again. My stomach clenched, but I held my head high. If Vivian Howard thought she could chase me away with snide comments and social warfare, she had seriously underestimated this farmer's daughter. Liam squeezed my hand under the table as we sat down. Looking around at the gleaming silver and crystal, I thought about my parents' kitchen table back home, scarred from years of hot pans and homework sessions. Dad would laugh if he could see me now, sitting straight-backed in this museum of wealth, preparing to do battle with a woman who probably spent more on her weekly manicure than he made in a month. But then I remembered what he always told me. Regina, girl, you've got steel in your spine and fire in your heart. Don't let anyone make you forget that. As the first course arrived, some tiny precious thing involving quail eggs, I watched Vivian holding court at the head of the table. She thought she was protecting her family's legacy. She had no idea she was about to create her worst nightmare, a daughter-in-law with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. I smiled, reaching for the correct fork without hesitation. Game on, Vivienne! Game on! The dinner stretched on like a silk thread being pulled to its breaking point. Between each precisely timed course, Vivienne orchestrated what felt like an interrogation disguised as polite conversation. "So, Regina," she said, dabbing her lips with a monogrammed napkin, "tell us about your education." "I studied fashion design at—" "Oh, community college, wasn't it?" Vivienne interrupted, her smile sharp as a pin. "How quaint." "Actually," I replied, maintaining eye contact, "I started there, yes. Then I won a scholarship to Parsons." Ellis leaned forward, genuine interest crossing his weathered face. "Parsons? That's quite prestigious." "She didn't graduate," Vivienne cut in quickly. "Did you, dear?" "Mother," Liam warned, but I touched his arm. "No, I didn't," I said. "I left in my final year to launch my business. Sometimes the best opportunities don't wait for perfect timing." Nora, sitting across from me, smiled encouragingly. "And now you have your own boutique. That's incredible." A boutique. One of Vivienne's friends, a woman with a face stretched too tight, tittered. "In this economy?" "Speaking of economy," Vivienne said, signalling for wine refills, "Liam, darling, how is the merger going?" I watched my fiancé shift into business mode, discussing million-dollar deals with the same ease I used to discuss weather patterns with my father during planting season. Under the table, my phone buzzed. A text from Hayden. "Emergency at the shop. Collection samples arrived damaged. Call me." I excused myself, ignoring Vivienne's pointed comment about proper dinner etiquette. In the hallway, I found a quiet corner near a massive oil painting. "How bad?" I asked when Hayden picked up. "Remember that boutique in Paris, the one that wouldn't even look at our lookbook last season? They want to stock the entire spring collection, but they need to see samples next week." My heart raced. Next week? That's impossible. Maybe. Unless you're Regina from Missouri, who once made prom dresses for half her high school class in under 2 weeks. I laughed, then quickly lowered my voice as footsteps approached. "Send me the details, Having trouble with your little shop?" Vivienne's voice sliced through the air. She stood with Ellis, both holding fresh drinks. "Not at all," I said, sliding my phone away. "Actually, we just—" "Regina, dear," she interrupted again, "I hope you understand that being a Howard means certain expectations, social obligations, charity boards. You can't be running around playing seamstress." "I'm not playing anything," I said quietly. "I'm running a business." Ellis cleared his throat. "Vivienne, perhaps—" "No, Ellis. She needs to understand." Vivienne stepped closer, her perfume overwhelming. "The Howard name means something in this city. We don't work in retail." "Times change," I said, straightening my spine. "And so do families." "Do they?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We'll see about that. Ellis, would you excuse us? I need to discuss the wedding plans with my future daughter-in-law." Ellis hesitated, then squeezed my shoulder as he passed. "Good luck, my dear." Once he was gone, Vivienne's facade cracked slightly. "Listen carefully. The Howard bride always wears the family gown. It's been worn by every Howard woman for 4 generations. I actually plan to design—" "This isn't a negotiation." Her voice could have frozen champagne. "You'll wear the gown, you'll join the right committees, and you'll close that little sweatshop of yours. That's the price of becoming a Howard." Before I could respond, voices approached, Liam and Nora, looking for us. "Everything okay?" Liam asked, his eyes darting between us. "Wonderful," Vivienne trilled, her society smile back in place. "I was just telling Regina about our family traditions, the gown especially. You'll love it, dear. It's being altered as we speak. As we walked back to dinner, I caught a whispered exchange between Vivian and another guest in the shadows. Everything arranged? Yes, the alterations will ensure it's memorable. My hands clenched into fists. I thought of the Paris opportunity, of my dad's words about steel and fire, of every dismissive comment about my little shop. Liam touched my waist. You're shaking. What did she say to you? I forced a smile. Nothing I can't handle. And I meant it, because what Vivian didn't know was that this farmer's daughter had learned long ago. The best way to deal with someone trying to bury you is to show them how well you can grow. The next morning, Nora showed up at my boutique unannounced, clutching 2 coffee cups and wearing oversized sunglasses despite the cloudy day. I needed to escape, she said, collapsing onto my design room couch. Mother's in full wedding planning mode. I think she made the florist cry. I threaded a needle, continuing work on a prototype. Just the florist? She's losing her touch. Nora laughed, then grew serious. Listen, about the family gown. Let me guess. It's cursed, made from the tears of previous Howard brides. Worse. Nora removed her sunglasses, revealing red-rimmed eyes. It's ugly as sin, and Mother knows it. That's why she's insisting you wear it. I set down my work. What do you mean? Remember Caroline, my cousin who married into the family 5 years ago? Nora pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. Mother did the same thing to her, insisted on the gown, then had it altered to look absolutely horrible. Caroline looked like a Victorian lampshade. The photos were everywhere. What happened to Caroline? Divorced within a year. She couldn't handle the pressure, the constant criticism. Nora's voice cracked, just like my first husband. I moved to sit beside her. You were married? Briefly, to someone Mother didn't approve of. She wiped her eyes. An artist. Can you imagine? A Howard married to someone who actually created things with his hands. What happened? Mother happened. She has this way of crushing people, making them feel small, insignificant. She drove him away, then convinced everyone it was for the best. Nora gripped her coffee cup tighter. That's what she does. She controls everything, the family business, our social circles, our lives. And Liam just accepts this. Liam's different. He's the heir, the golden child. He doesn't see how she manipulates everything. Nora turned to face me. But you do, don't you? You see right through her. Before I could respond, Hayden burst in, arms full of fabric samples. Regina, the Paris buyers moved up the timeline. They want... Oh, hello. Nora, this is Hayden, my business partner, I said. Hayden, this is Liam's sister. The nice Howard, Hayden said, dumping the samples on my workbench. I've heard about you. Nora stood, examining the fabrics with genuine interest. These are gorgeous. Are they for your new collection? Yes, I said, then hesitated. Actually, would you like to see something? I led them to a locked room at the back of the shop. Inside, a half-finished wedding dress stood on a mannequin, layers of silk and hand-beaded lace flowing like water. Oh my God, Nora breathed. You're making your own dress. Mother will lose her mind, Hayden said gleefully. Mother can't know, Nora said quickly. Not yet, but Regina, this is incredible. It's not finished, I said, adjusting a panel. But when it is? It'll be your masterpiece, Hayden finished, and your Declaration of Independence. Nora touched the fabric reverently. You know what this reminds me of? The dress in that old photograph, the one of Grandmother on her wedding day, before the family gown tradition started. What happened to that dress? I asked. Nora's face darkened. Mother happened. She locked away anything that didn't fit her vision of what the Howards should be, including Grandmother's journals. Journals? Yes, about the family business. The real story, not the sanitized version Mother tells at parties. Nora's voice dropped. Did you know our fortune didn't come from old money? Grandmother built the company from nothing. She was a lot like you, actually. But Mother buried that truth, just like she buried the dress. Hayden whistled low. Now that would be quite a story to come out, especially with the society papers already sniffing around for wedding coverage. I stared at my unfinished dress, an idea forming. Nora, those journals. Where exactly did your mother hide them? In the East Wing study behind Grandfather's portrait. Why? Because, I said, a plan crystallizing in my mind. Maybe it's time for some family traditions to see the light of day again. Nora's eyes widened. You're not suggesting. I'm suggesting that your mother isn't the only one who knows how to orchestrate a perfect reveal. I turned to Hayden. How do you feel about a slight delay on those Paris samples? Hayden grinned. For this, I'll call them right now. As they left, Nora grabbed my hand. Regina, be careful. Mother's network runs deep. If she suspects anything. Don't worry, I said, looking at my dress. Sometimes the best way to fight silk with silk is to make sure you're wearing the stronger thread. Hold still, I muttered around a mouthful of pins, making final adjustments to my wedding dress. 3 weeks until the ceremony, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Regina! Hayden burst into the workroom, face flushed. You need to see this! She thrust her phone at me. On the screen was a photo of the Howard family gown, recently altered for my big day. It looked like someone had skinned Big Bird and turned him into a dress. The waist was impossibly small, the neckline would reach my ears, and the yellowed lace resembled mouldy doilies. Where did you get this? The seamstress's assistant? I may have bribed her with front-row Fashion Week tickets. Hayden zoomed in on details. Look at these alterations. They're designed to make you look like a laughingstock, I finished. Vivian's perfect revenge. My phone buzzed. Liam calling. I let it go to voicemail. You can't avoid him forever, Hayden said softly. He's going to notice something's wrong. I know. I returned to my dress, fingers tracing the intricate beadwork. But if I tell him what his mother's doing, he'll have to choose sides. The door chimed. Nora slipped in, carrying a leather-bound book. I got it, she whispered, though we were alone. Grandmother's journal. Mother was at her charity board meeting, so I had time to search the study. My hands trembled as I opened it. The pages were filled with elegant handwriting, telling a story very different from the Howard legacy Vivian preached. Listen to this, I read aloud. Today I sold my first dress, not to a society lady, but to a farmer's wife who saved 3 months' egg money to look beautiful at her daughter's graduation. Her smile when she saw herself in the mirror, that's worth more than all the silk in Paris. Keep reading, Nora urged. They say I'm bringing shame to the family name, selling dresses to common folk, but every woman deserves to feel extraordinary, whether she's dancing at the plaza or feeding chickens at dawn. Hayden whistled. So the great Howard fortune started with a dressmaker, who married into the family, Nora added. Just like you, Regina, and just like you, she refused to let anyone shame her for working with her hands. I closed the journal carefully. No wonder Vivian hid this. It destroys her whole narrative about old money and proper society. The door chimed again. This time it was Ellis, looking worried. Regina, my dear, I'm glad I found you. He glanced at the dress on the mannequin but didn't comment. I've just come from lunch with Vivienne. She's planning something for the wedding, something more than just the dress. My stomach clenched. What kind of something? I don't know details, but she was meeting with a reporter from Social Pages. Something about an exposé on new money trying to buy class. She wouldn't, Nora gasped. That would hurt Liam too. She would, I said, remembering Caroline's fate. She'd rather humiliate her son than let him marry someone who threatens her control. Ellis stepped closer to my dress, admiring the craftsmanship. You know, this reminds me of Catherine's work. Catherine? Your grandmother, he said to Nora. We were friends before Vivian. Well, she would have loved this. And you, Regina, she would have recognised that same fire. I stood straighter. Ellis, how would you like to help us with a little historical restoration? What did you have in mind? I outlined my plan quickly. Ellis's eyes widened, then he broke into a broad grin. Catherine would have absolutely loved this, he said. Count me in. Me too, Nora said firmly. It's time someone stood up to Mother. Hayden was already on her phone. I'll call in some favours with the fashion press. If we're doing this, let's do it right. I returned to my dress, adding another layer of beading. Each crystal caught the light like a tiny act of defiance. My phone buzzed again. Liam, this time I answered. Regina, Mother wants us to come for a final fitting of the family gown tomorrow. I looked at my allies, Nora clutching her grandmother's journal, Ellis making notes in his phone, Hayden coordinating with press contacts. Of course, I said sweetly. Wouldn't miss it for the world. After hanging up, I touched the silk of my creation, the dress that would either be my triumph or my downfall. You know, Ellis said quietly, Catherine always said that true elegance isn't about who you were born to be, but who you choose to become. I smiled, picking up my needle. Then let's give Vivian a lesson in elegance she'll never forget. The Howard Mansion's fitting room felt like a torture chamber. I stood on a pedestal, drowning in yards of yellowed silk and ancient lace, while Vivian circled like a shark scenting blood. Perfect, she purred, adjusting the neckline to choke me further. Absolutely perfect. The seamstress, a nervous woman named Marie, kept shooting me apologetic looks as she pinned the monstrosity according to Vivian's instructions. Mother, Nora said from her perch by the window, don't you think the waist is a bit tight? Nonsense. Regina will simply need to watch her diet until the wedding. Vivian's smile could have cut glass. We want her to look her best in the family photos, don't we? My phone buzzed in my purse. Probably Hayden with updates about our plan. I'd have to wait. Speaking of photos, Vivian continued, I've arranged for exclusive coverage with social pages. They're very interested in our family traditions. How thoughtful, I managed through gritted teeth. The door opened and Liam walked in. He stopped short, staring at me in the dress. That's different from what I remember. We've modernised it slightly, Vivian said smoothly. Regina, dear, turn around so Liam can see the full effect. I turned, the ancient fabric crackling like paper. Liam's face fell for just a second before he caught himself. It's very traditional, he said diplomatically. My phone buzzed again. This time Vivienne noticed. Popular today, aren't we? She gestured to Marie. Check that, dear. It might be important. Marie retrieved my phone, her eyes widening at the screen. It's from Fashion Weekly. Vivian snatched the phone. Fashion Weekly! Why would they be... Her face went pale as she read the message. Mother, Nora asked innocently, is everything all right? What? Vivian's voice shook. Is this about a feature article? About an exciting new designer bringing authenticity back to luxury fashion? I met her eyes in the mirror. Oh, that! They're doing a piece on my latest collection, the one Paris is interested in. Paris? Liam stepped forward. Regina, that's amazing. It's inappropriate, Vivian snapped. I thought we discussed this. Once you're a Howard... The door burst open again. Ellis rushed in, waving a tablet. Vivienne, have you seen this? It's already online. The article's headline glowed on the screen. Rising star Regina takes fashion world by storm from farm to fashion week. They can't, Vivienne whispered. The social pages piece isn't ready. This ruins everything. "What social pages piece?" Liam asked sharply. Before Vivienne could respond, my phone buzzed with another message. Marie, still holding it, gasped. "Vogue wants an interview," she said. About revolutionizing modern bridal wear?" Vivienne's head snapped up. "Bridal wear?" I stepped down from the pedestal, the horrible dress trailing behind me. "Yes, my new collection, the one I'm launching at my wedding." "You can't," Vivienne hissed. "You're wearing the family gown. It's tradition." "Actually," Ellis interrupted, pulling out Catherine's journal, "speaking of tradition, where did you get that?" Vivienne lunged for the journal, but Nora was faster. "Grandmother's journal," Nora said, opening to a marked page, "about how she built the Howard fortune with a needle and thread just like Regina." Liam moved closer. "What are you talking about?" "Your grandmother," I said softly, "was a dressmaker. She believed fashion should be for everyone, not just the elite. She built an empire on that belief." "Until someone decided that truth wasn't sophisticated enough," Ellis added, looking pointedly at Vivienne. Liam turned to his mother. "Is this true?" Vivienne's composure cracked. "It was for the best. We needed to establish ourselves in society. Catherine's common background would have held us back, just like—" She glared at me. "Just like me?" I stepped closer, letting the awful dress drag on the floor. "A farmer's daughter who dares to create something beautiful, who believes, like Catherine did, that everyone deserves to feel extraordinary. You don't understand anything about our world," Vivienne spat. "No," I said, reaching for the zipper, "I understand everything, including why you're so desperate to stop my collection from launching." I stepped out of the dress, revealing my own design underneath, a simple but elegant slip dress I'd worn just for this moment. Liam stared at me, then at the journal, then at his mother. "The Social Pages article. What were you planning?" Vivienne's silence was answer enough. "The wedding's in 3 weeks," I said calmly. "Just enough time for everyone to decide who they really want to be." I turned to Marie. "The dress is lovely, but I won't be needing it. I've got something else in mind." As I walked out, Nora falling into step beside me, I heard Liam's voice, harder than I'd ever heard it. "Mother, we need to talk." My phone buzzed again. Hayden. "Phase 1 complete. Ready for the real show?" I smiled, thinking of my wedding dress waiting in its secret room. Absolutely ready. The wedding day dawned clear and bright. In the bridal suite of the Plaza Hotel, I sat perfectly still as Hayden put the finishing touches on my makeup. "Vivienne's already making waves downstairs," she reported, applying another coat of mascara, "telling everyone you had a regrettable emotional episode about the family gown." "Let her," I said, watching my reflection. "She hasn't seen anything yet." The door opened and Nora slipped in, looking stunning in her maid-of-honor dress. One of my designs, of course. Mother's got the family gown displayed in the entrance hall, with a little plaque about Howard tradition and everything. "Right on schedule," Hayden grinned. "Is Ellis in position?" "With the entire board of Fashion Weekly, Vogue, and yes, Social Pages." Nora's eyes sparkled, plus about a dozen other fashion editors Mother didn't know he invited. My phone lit up with a text from Liam. "Whatever you're planning, I trust you, and I love you." The past 3 weeks had been tense. After discovering his grandmother's journal, Liam had confronted Vivienne about years of manipulation. She'd responded by threatening to withdraw his position in the family company. He'd responded by revealing he'd already started his own investment firm. A knock at the door made us all jump. "Regina!" It was my dad. "You ready, sweetheart?" I stood, still wrapped in a silk robe. "Almost. Just need to get into my dress." "Dresses," Hayden corrected with a wink, wheeling in 2 garment bags. Dad's eyes widened as we revealed the first dress, a perfect recreation of Catherine Howard's original wedding gown, reconstructed from photos in her journal. simple, elegant, revolutionary for its time. "This is for the ceremony," I explained, as Hayden and Nora helped me into it. "The second one is for the reception." "And Madame Vivienne?" Dad asked, understanding in his eyes. "Has no idea." I smoothed the vintage-inspired silk. "Ready?" The ceremony space fell silent as the doors opened. I heard gasps, not of horror as Vivienne had planned, but of awe. Through my veil I saw her face go from smug anticipation to shock as she recognized the design. Liam's eyes were wet as I reached him. "Grandmother's dress," he whispered. "The original Howard tradition," I whispered back. The ceremony passed in a blur of happiness and tears. Happy ones mostly, except for Vivienne's barely concealed rage. But the real show was yet to come. At the reception entrance, Vivienne had arranged her tableau. The family gown displayed like a museum piece, with a carefully worded history that erased Catherine's true legacy. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ellis's voice rang out as guests gathered, "before we continue the celebrations, I believe we have another display to unveil." On cue, panels slid back in the wall opposite Vivienne's display, revealing a stunning exhibition. Catherine's original sketches, photographs of her at work, and headlines from her era celebrating her success. At the centre stood my second dress, mounted on a mannequin. "What is the meaning of this?" Vivienne demanded, but her voice was drowned out by excited murmurs as fashion editors surged forward. "The true Howard legacy," Ellis announced, "a story of innovation, determination, and the belief that true elegance knows no social bounds. And now the bride will honour that legacy with her own design." I stepped out in my second dress, a modern masterpiece that echoed Catherine's aesthetic while blazing its own trail. The crowd erupted in applause. "You can't," Vivienne started, but Nora cut her off. "Actually, Mother, we can. The board voted this morning. Regina's designs will be the foundation of a new Howard fashion house, returning to Grandmother's original vision." "With a modern twist," I added, meeting Vivienne's eyes. "Because traditions should evolve, not entrap." Liam appeared at my side, proud and tall. "The papers are signed, Mother. It's done." Vivienne looked around wildly but found no allies. The society photographers she'd invited were too busy capturing my dress. The Social Pages reporter was interviewing Ellis about Catherine's recently discovered journal. Even her closest friends were excitedly discussing the exhibition. "Well played," she said finally, her voice tight. "You've managed to turn my son against me, expose our private history, and turn my own mother's common background into some sort of triumph." "No," I said softly. "I just refuse to let you bury someone else's truth to protect your lies." I touched the silk of my dress, my design, my statement, my victory. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a wedding to enjoy." As Liam led me to the dance floor, I caught a glimpse of my father wiping his eyes, of Hayden directing photographers to the best angles, of Nora standing tall beside the exhibition of her grandmother's work. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about building something so beautiful they can't help but watch it shine. The reception was in full swing when Hayden grabbed my arm, practically vibrating with excitement. "You need to see this. Now!" She pulled me away from a group of fashion editors and thrust her tablet in front of me. The article had just gone live. "Howard Fashion House Reborn, a Legacy of Innovation Restored." "Look at the shares," she whispered. I stared at the numbers. Our company's stock had jumped 30% in the hours since the exhibition unveiled. Pre-orders for my bridal collection were flooding in. "Regina," Ellis approached, beaming, "the Vogue editor wants to discuss a full feature, and Paris is asking about exclusive rights to your next collection." "Already?" I laughed, but stopped when I saw Vivienne approaching, her face set in grim determination. "A word," she said, not asking. "Privately." I followed her to a quiet corner, my dress rustling against the marble floor. For a moment, she just stared at me, as if trying to solve a puzzle. "You didn't just want to marry my son, did you?" she finally said. "This was always about taking over." "No," I replied. "This was about standing up for myself. The business success, that's just karma." "Karma?" she laughed bitterly. "You exposed our family's secrets, made me look like a fool." "You did that yourself. I just showed people the truth." "The truth?" Her voice rose slightly. "The truth is that I spent 30 years building our social position, 30 years making the Howard name mean something." "It already meant something," I said quietly. "Your mother-in-law built an empire on talent and vision. You're the one who tried to bury that legacy under fake pedigrees and social climbing." "Mother?" Nora appeared beside us, holding Catherine's journal. "The board wants to speak with you, all of them." Vivian's face paled. "Now? They're particularly interested in discussing some financial decisions you made. Something about redirecting company funds to maintain social appearances." I watched Vivian's carefully constructed world crumble in real time. Her hands shook as she reached for the journal. "Catherine's final entries," Nora explained, opening to a marked page. "Detailed records of the company's original structure, the one you altered after she died." "You had no right," Vivian started. "Actually," Liam's voice cut in as he joined us, "as the majority shareholders now, we had every right. The board's voting on new leadership tonight." "You're voting me out! Your own mother!" "No," I said, surprising everyone. "We're offering you a choice." Hayden appeared with another tablet, showing designs I'd been working on secretly. "A new line," I explained, "combining classic Howard elegance with modern sophistication. We need someone who understands both worlds to help position it. You want me to work? For you?" Vivian looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. "With me," I corrected. "Your social connections combined with my designs, Catherine's vision of fashion for everyone, marketed to both Main Street and Madison Avenue." "It's a good offer, Mother," Liam said softly. "Better than you gave others." The string quartet started playing again, filling the silence as Vivian stared at the designs. I saw something flicker in her eyes. Recognition, maybe. Or remembrance. "Catherine showed me her work once," she said quietly. "Before I married into the family, I thought it was beautiful. But everyone said old money didn't work with their hands." "Times change," I said, echoing her words from weeks ago. "And so do families." Vivienne looked around the reception, at the fashion editors eagerly examining the exhibition, at the society photographers capturing every detail of my dress, at the mixing of worlds she'd tried so hard to keep separate. "I'll need time to consider," she said finally. "Of course." I turned to rejoin the party, then paused. "Oh, and Vivienne, the family gown?" "Yes. We're donating it to the Fashion Institute as a historical example of how far we've come." For a moment, I thought I saw the ghost of a smile cross her face. The rest of the night passed in a blur of dancing, champagne, and congratulations. My father twirled me around the dance floor, whispering, "Your mama would be so proud, baby girl." Later, as Liam and I swayed to a slow song, he murmured, "You could have destroyed her, you know. Why didn't you?" I watched Vivienne across the room, actually listening as Hayden explained our marketing strategy. Because sometimes, winning isn't about destroying what's there. It's about building something better. "Speaking of building," he grinned, ready to announce the other news. I touched my stomach, still flat but holding our secret. "Let's wait. Your mother can only handle so much change at once." The photographer's flashes caught my dress, making the beadwork sparkle like stars. In that moment, I felt Catherine's spirit everywhere. In the fabric, in the air, in the future we were weaving together, one stitch at a time. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fresh paint through the open windows of Howard Fashion House's new flagship store. I adjusted the vintage dress form in the window display, the centrepiece of our grand opening. "A little to the left," Vivian called from the sidewalk. "We want the morning light to catch the beadwork." I smiled, remembering how she'd once dismissed my little shop. Now here she was, at dawn, helping perfect every detail of our launch. "The press is already lining up," Hayden announced, rushing in with coffee for everyone. "And you'll never guess who's out there. That same Social Pages reporter Vivienne, hired for the wedding hit piece. She looks absolutely desperate for an interview." "Let her wait," Vivienne said, surprising us both. "Quality publications first. That's what Catherine would have done." The door chimed as Nora entered, carrying a familiar leather-bound journal. "Found more sketches in Grandmother's things. Wait until you see these designs. They were decades ahead of their time." "Speaking of time," I said, checking my watch, "where's Liam? He's supposed to be here for the ribbon cutting." "Right here," his voice called from the back. He emerged carrying a large framed photo, one I hadn't seen before. Ellis found this in his archives, thought it deserved a special place. The photograph showed Catherine in her workroom, surrounded by fabrics and dreams, her face bright with purpose. Below it, a simple quote from her journal. "Fashion isn't about who you were born to be, but who you choose to become." "Perfect spot for it," I said, pointing to the wall behind the main counter, right where everyone can see it. "Regina!" My father's voice boomed as he entered, still looking slightly out of place in the suit I'd designed for him. "The delivery's here!" We all rushed outside to where a truck was unloading racks of clothing. My newest collection, inspired by both farm life and high fashion. Work shirts reimagined in silk, denim elevated with hand-beading practical shapes transformed into elegant statements. "It's really happening," Nora whispered, touching a sleeve reverently. Vivian stepped forward, adjusting a display piece with practiced precision. "The proportions are perfect, and the craftsmanship." She paused, meeting my eyes. Catherine would have been proud. "Thank you," I said softly, recognizing how much those words cost her. The morning flew by in a whirlwind of final preparations. As opening time approached, I slipped into the back office for a quiet moment. On my desk sat a small gift box with a note, "For the next generation of Howard designers." V. Inside was a delicate silver thimble, clearly antique. A small note explained, "Catherine's first tool, found in her things, thought you should have it." "Everything okay?" Liam asked from the doorway. I showed him the thimble, watching his eyes soften with understanding. "Mother's full of surprises lately," he said, wrapping his arms around me. "Speaking of surprises, how's our little secret doing?" I touched my slightly rounded stomach, hidden by the clever draping of my dress. "Growing strong, like everything else around here." "Miss Regina," Ellis called, "it's time!" We stepped out to find the sidewalk packed with press, fashion editors, and eager customers. Vivian stood ready with the ceremonial scissors, looking every inch the proud matriarch, but different now, somehow, softer around the edges. "Before we open," she announced to the crowd, "I want to say something. For years, I thought I was protecting the Howard legacy. Instead, I was hiding it. Today, thanks to my daughter-in-law's vision, we're not just restoring that legacy. We're evolving it." She turned to me, offering the scissors. "Would you do the honours?" As I cut the ribbon, cheers erupted. Cameras flashed, the doors opened, and people flooded in, touching the clothes with reverent hands, exclaiming over the designs, pointing to Catherine's photograph. "Well," my father said, appearing at my side, "not bad for a farmer's daughter." I watched Vivian expertly guide fashion editors through the collection, saw Nora explaining Catherine's influence to reporters, noticed Hayden tracking sales on her tablet with growing excitement. "You know what, Dad?" I said, touching the thimble in my pocket. "I'm not just a farmer's daughter anymore. I'm a designer, a businesswoman, a wife." I patted my stomach secretly. "And soon I'll be a mother. But most importantly, I'm myself. The morning light streamed through the windows, catching the beadwork just as Vivian had planned. In its glow, I saw the future we were building, not just a fashion house, but a home for creativity, authenticity, and second chances. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't in tearing something down, but in building something so magnificent that everyone rises with it, even those who once tried to make you fall.